we talked about a video, and I think that's
Oh, the one where I'm beating up on myself and beating up on Africa.
yeah,
That one, that 4 minutes out of a 2 hours.
exactly that
I
one.
still haven't figured out who dissected that and sent it all around the world. But it's somebody who was pissed off with me about something. Um, and I think I know who it was, because I'd done this piece with my brother from Angola and Britain. And I was very harsh on the so-called royal family. There's nothing royal about those criminals. And then I was harsh on the colonialism and imperialism that the French and the British and the Americans have played in Africa. And I was outlining that they were coming back. This was right after the big economic conference in Switzerland or someplace. And the Brits was breaking away from the European Union. And their foreign minister had made a speech and talking about, how they're going to build a maternity hospital in Kumasi, Ghana, and help to rebuild the road in Tim. And I goes like, Greeks bearing gifts? We got a history that tells us how that works, of the Trojan horse. But I wasn't that pleasant in my description of what they have done to us in the genocide. And I even went in on the African government and leaders. I think I even suggest that if we can't do nothing else about them, we have to decide how to do without them. But I wasn't pleasant in that. But I know I made some people very angry. I even got on this Megan girl from America, so-called Black girl, marrying into the so-called royal families. And then the first big trip they're going to make is run down in Africa, because Britain is trying now to get its place back in Africa. We're not going to let China out-steal us. We're not going to let China out-rob us. We need to get back into the bank and steal some more money ourselves. So I was like really nasty for 2 hours. And then 2 weeks later, they took a speech that I made some 5 years ago. It wasn't really a speech. I'm walking down the sidewalk. Let me give you the background real quick, because people need to get this. I just gotten back from Ferguson, where our brother Brown had been murdered in the streets. And he got murdered because some Arab, I'm not calling them cousin, they were immigrant exploiters and parasites who owned the business in that community, called the police and lied and said the boy had stolen something, which the videotapes will clearly show later he paid for. But now he's dead, right? And we can't bring him back. But this happens to us all the time. Like I tell people, you heard about George Floyd, and the world rose up the other day. But guess what? In the last 9 years, I've had 4,400 George Floyds that I had to cry for here in this America. And nobody was crying with us. And nobody was reaching a hand to support us. So it was in this, I'm coming back. I'm actually coming from my knee doctor, because I got this big problem with my knees, getting old and stuff. And I see the police putting big plastic bags in their car trunks, and the young men are out there arguing. They're taking their t-shirts and their sneakers. They were vending on the sidewalk. And like the Chinese store who said he sold the same things and that they were messing with his business by selling these things. And of course, the kids didn't have any license to sell. And I got angry with the African merchants, who the majority of the brothers on the streets, not standing up to defend these young people. And so in that dialogue, the guy asked me when I was Jack, he was trying to pull together a meeting every Tuesday to bring the vendors together, but none of the brothers on the continent would come to the meeting, to try to create some bonding. So between the Ferguson, the kids getting their goods taken away by the cops, and I can't get my brothers to even pay attention. Somebody asked the question, what about these Africans? Why aren't they with us in our marches and our demonstrations and helping us to fight? So I go into a litany of things, but I start out with the African American, calling them white people in blackface and some other choice words, but they left that out. I beat up the Arabs terribly, but they left that out. I beat up the Chinese, they left that out. And in the end, I put a conciliatory thing on how African from the continent, the Caribbean, and the United States need to band together in order to be strong economically, politically, and culturally, but they cut that out. They took the piece where I go off on the brothers on the street. I was trying to shame them into standing up. It didn't work. But that's what that was that day. And I didn't even realize I was so crude. I was particularly crude. And so I said that, the cloth they're wearing is made in Holland and is made in India, and it's not even African cloth. So I'm saying, you're coming to fooling me that you're the real African and you don't have to deal with me fighting my enemy. And I talked about how in the rest of the speech, which is it's about 2 hours and something, I'm out there just talking, that you have left, you partner with other people on an immigrant identity instead of partnering with us on a racial identity. So I say you're like parasites exploiting your own people. And the details most people have seen. That's what that was about. And I've cried over that speech a lot, but it was 5 years ago in the midst of what had happened in Ferguson. And I said, I knew I was brutal. I was harsh. I am harsh. Sometimes I'm like alive. Sometimes I could be real harsh on Black people. But that day I was very harsh. And it has hurt my heart too, because I don't like to be that harsh. Anything that hurt my people hurt me. And so even though out of the, say, every 100 calls I've got on it, 75% have been positive and understood, because a lot of what I said in there is true. Even though I said it very rudely, very harshly. Many of our people come to America and they're afraid to side with us because we are the antagonists to white people. And the white Americans see us as their enemy. So if you're an immigrant, which I understand, I'm not going to side with the enemy of the ruling elite. And my thing is, you better find a secret way to do it, because every time you get in trouble, it's me who go to the street. You don't come to the street to fight even when the African merchants are attacked or when it's the African American in that street fighting for you. And we die for you. But the State Department and the Justice Department, it is a part of their policy, and the American Refugee Society, to instruct and inform not just our brothers and sisters from the continent, but our Latin brothers and sisters also, not to have anything to do with us, not to merge with our community, not to bond with our community. They have a right to do that, but we don't have a right not to bond with one another. So it was out of all of that I was coming. And we're not going to survive against this beast unless we're willing to have real unity. You know, I was a little off and I'm saying we are the best Pan-Africanists. We're some of the worst Pan-Africanists on the planet. But I was trying to shame these brothers to stand up for those other young brothers. And hopefully there've been some reconciliation on the street, because over the years I've seen the young brothers come back. But this was a dialogue 5 years ago under those circumstances. But let's not lie to each other. When our brothers and sisters from the continent come to America, if they move into a white neighborhood, they attend a white church. But when they move into our neighborhood, they build their own church. Oh, come on. Let's take some responsibility for our behavior. Okay? The fear of Black Americans, yes, we're 50 million strong. So we got some rough thug people in the street. Yes, we do. But I can go to Nigeria and find the thug people. I can go to Ghana. But I can also find the angel and the prince and the king. And you know what I'm saying? So don't just identify me by some rapper with his drawers hanging out who's a thug. That's not who I am. I'm 50 million strong. And even if I got 1 million or 2 doing that, that's not my whole 50 million people. So stop identifying me like that. We have churches, we have mosques, we have Prince Hall lodges, we have more colleges than any other ethnic group in this country dedicated just to us. And we have fought to be in every white colleges. And we fought for our brothers and sisters from abroad to have all these opportunities. We've never once said this is just for African Americans. You have never heard that in none of our movement. So stop leaving us to be destroyed by our enemy when we need you so badly. We need Africa. We need Africa to love us. We need Africa to say, you belong to me. You know how I tell you, look on me?
Look on me.
You're mine and I'm yours.
Mm-hmm.
Practice look on me with me. And I will practice look on me with you. Now, all this comes from really not knowing history and the pain we've been through with slavery and colonialism and our struggle to go to these white metropolitans to try to make a life for ourselves and make a way for ourselves. And they still deny us knowledge of ourselves and they scorn us practicing our own tradition. All of these things factor in. But we've got to fight. And I'll end that with just this one. Amenhotep wrote a book back in ancient Kemet, back in the day. And Dr. Asa Hilliard translated, and he's talking about freedom. And he said, freedom doesn't make us free. He said, freedom is being shackled to your identity, to your goal, and your purpose. This is an ancestor 30,000 years ago saying freedom is being shackled to your identity. I did a poor job on 125th Street that day, but everybody know who have called me what I'm fighting against. There's something I'm trying to say, and we know it's true about our behavior towards one another. You know, don't marginalize me and say I don't have a culture and I'm not really African, and I am. I know my people's from the Mendi people. That's my great-grandma Hope. I know my people from through Papa Andrew Small, who's from the Yoruba people. I know from the words and the language we still have. I know my great-grandpa Joe, my grandmother's father, is a Tutsi man. I know who I am, but I live in the United States where I've been for hundreds of years as a result of the genocide called slavery. Don't deny me. But then you can partner with the Chinese and you can partner with the Arabs and you can partner with the European, but then you're going to deny a partnership with me. That's what I was angry about. As you can see, it's still kind of in my spirit today. You know, that's what I was upset about then. I've got to find better ways to say it. We have to, on this side, take as much responsibility as we put on the brothers and sisters on that side. And I know you guys live in Holland. Even those who are more recent migrant to Holland have trouble with those who think they're really Dutch, you know, been there because they've been there for a while. And we've got to learn to reckon these relationships. And that's why our culture is so important, because that's the common thread. Our history is so important because that's the common thread. So that we can learn our history, learn our culture, learn who our heroines were and our heroes were, honor them, love them, respect them, you know. And then we can say, look at me.
Look at me.
I belong to you, and you belong to me. I am yours, and you are mine. Anybody who, when they get through with that 4 minutes, I've got about 5,000 other hours you can go and listen to, starting with 100 or more tapes on YouTube, and they're all at war on behalf of Africa and in praise of Africa and an elevation of Africa. But I can understand why some people's spirit was hurt seeing that 4 minutes if they don't know anything else about me. At 75, I've been in the struggle since I'm 14. I never missed a day at work in all these years. When Malcolm X got assassinated at 21, I'm the guy that took over. But I don't have to flaunt that to the world. My enemy know who I am. I was Al-Hajj Amin Shaheed. I went to Mecca right after him. I ran his mosque. I was his sister's bodyguard for 18 years. I was one of the chiefs in the OAAU. And the gods have allowed me to live all these years through all these things, the Panther Party, the Black Liberation Army. And I'm not ashamed or afraid to say before the whole world, I work with all those forces. I know Sister Assata Shakur. I knew a Tupac Shakur. Tupac's mother and father got married in the same bedroom me and my wife got married in nearly 50 years ago. But I don't flaunt that as who I am. I walk in nobody's shadow, just mine. I am who I am, given the work I try to do for my people. And that's all you can do. In a short while, this life will be over in this body. But I hope I leave some work here that is useful for the next generation. And my poor people, if I hurt your heart, please forgive me. It was not to hurt your heart. It was to say I'm screaming in pain that there's something wrong that we need to correct.